Welcome, everyone. Welcome, one and all to Impolite Company on the WGCPR.live network, where you should check out all the other great shows. But in this show, Impolite Company, we defy the old adage and dive headfirst into religion and politics. I'm your host, Matthew Best, here to walk with you in honest dialogue and showcase the power of seeing the humanity of people with different perspectives. You can send me your questions, comments to Impolite Company contactimpolitecompany at gmail.com. I can read. And now you can also find previous episodes of Impolite Company and sign up to listen to new episodes through popular podcast channels. If you like the audio version, you can find it on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, you name it. Just search for Impolite Company and look for the logo, which is directly behind me. In case you're watching the video, it says Impolite Company. There's a microphone and it says Healthy Conversations. So that's what you're going to look for. And it's a black background in case you do get the audio and you don't know what I'm looking for. You can dive further into the topics that we talk about on the show by going to my blog at pastormatthewbest.com. And if you enjoy what we're doing here and find value in it, we ask you to please support the show. You can do that by going to buymeacoffee.com/impolite company. And before I get into today's episode, you can think of this almost as like sponsorship. I want to tell you a couple of things that I am passionate about, and you can support these as well. So you can show some love to Christ Lutheran Church in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in the heart of Allison Hill. It's the church I'm called to serve as pastor. Today, I have my collar on in case you didn't see that because we had church. And Christ Lutheran Church is a special place and community of healing. And what makes this church special is that we host 3 free health clinics here that serve the community and have had over 100,000 visits since 2018. Huge impact. So you can go to christharrisburg.org/donate. If you care about homelessness, you can check out the Memorial Blanket Project. Each year, people make blankets for strangers from all over the place. This year, we know already that we have a blanket from Germany and from Australia. So it's become an international thing. And we make an art installation with all of these blankets to highlight homelessness and then give them all away at the end of the night. We've done this in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and the front lawn of the U.S. Capitol. And last year was on the steps of the PA Capitol. Last couple of years, we've had well over 1,000 blankets. This year, we'll be at the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. And so if you want to learn more, you want to help, you can go to memorialblanket.org. Still need blankets, still need supplies for blankets. So you can help out. And lastly, if you're looking for a tool to help with conversations on the difficult topic of gun violence while seeing the humanity in others, which is what we do here at Impolite Company, check out American Roulette. It's a unique novel which highlights the humanity of the victims, the community, and even the perpetrator while offering no solutions, just conversation. All proceeds of the book don't go to the authors. I'm one of the authors. They go to organizations that address gun violence because we care about trying to change the conversation so that, again, it's a focus on the humanity. All the links will be included in the video version of this, and appreciate any help. Again, if you got questions, you can reach me by email at contactimpolitecompany@gmail.com. Today, I am again by myself, but I wanted to do something a little bit different again. Today, we're going to have a discussion, or rather a monologue, on a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And hopefully, I think it's also kind of probably at least half of it is something that I'm sure you're thinking about. And it's about religion and politics. And so, we're 1 month from Election Day in November. And at this point, it's October 6th when this is being recorded, less than a month until Election Day. So I wanted to talk about what religion and politics are really about. There's, I'm sure you've been watching or seeing, it's kind of hard to avoid, especially politics in these days. Of you just turn on any device and you're going to get hit with ads. Just like crazy amount of ads. There's people that don't, the undecided voter and everything. And in one sense, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not sure how you can be undecided, but that's also because I'm a little bit different, and I love to pay attention to these things. But I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. So I want to talk about today what are politics and religion. Politics is not just policies, laws, court decisions, regulations, party platforms. It's not just issues like economics or crime or immigration, abortion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Politics is not just politicians and rallies and campaigns and yard signs and uh, who's bringing in more money and debates and all that type of stuff, right? And I would say the same thing. Religion isn't just rituals and rites, theology and creeds, buildings and statements about whatever the topics are. Those are all important, and those are all a part of both religion and politics. I don't want to dismiss that, right? But if that's all religion and politics are, then we're number one, kind of wasting our time. And number two, we're missing some significant things. And that's what I want to talk about today. When politics and religion remain just these things that I have mentioned, right? The policies and laws and campaigning and platforms and the rules and rights and the creeds and all that stuff. Again, those are important things. But when religion and politics, if that's all we see with religion and politics, then the problem is those things stay impersonal and disembodied, if you want to use more of a theological term, disembodied, detached, in a way dehumanized, right? Because if you think about what religion and politics are, if it doesn't involve people, then what, number one, people are talking about them, and the decisions and what those beliefs are have an impact on people, real people. And so, especially when we disembody religion and politics, when we pull those away from the humanity, from recognizing that these have an effect on real people, this is why I think we continue to fight over politics and religion rather than focusing on something that not necessarily brings us together, but offers hope and offers a path forward. Um, Politics isn't just what you claim to believe, but also how you live it, and that's true of religion as well, right? Your actions, in a way, project your true beliefs. And of course, again, the same goes with religion. Religion and politics ultimately come down to a form of identity. They help us define who we are, especially in relation to others, to the rest of the world, to if we believe in a higher power, you name it, right? It's a way of forming an identity. Uh, and so, again, in a political sense, when you're saying that you're whatever on the spectrum, or if you're part of a political party or whatever the case may be, you're trying to create a bit of an identity. Same thing with religion. If you're a Christian, and you're claiming that you follow Jesus and you live contrary to that, uh, while claiming it, then that kind of shows everyone, that even you don't even buy into Jesus. So why should anybody else? Uh, it's this kind of contradiction that creates a lot of problems in this. The reading for today was the golden calf, and if you're familiar with the story of the golden calf, it's in Exodus, and the people are out and they get anxious because Moses has been gone, and so they go to Aaron, who's in charge. Hey, make us a god that we can follow. That's, I'm giving you the summary version. And they make this golden calf, and that's what they worship. And to give a sense of security, peace of mind, those type of things. But it breaks relationship throughout that entire passage. You have this broken relationship. You get a little bit further on, you get God saying to Moses, "Hey, Moses, your people are up to no good. You need to go do something about it because I'm getting really angry." And Moses says, "No, these are your people, and you said this." And it's just all of that. So there's this disembodiedness that happens, this broken trust, right? So a lot of this also ends up in what I'll call creeds. So creeds are usually related to religion, right? It's their statements of belief. But you could say platforms in a political sense, kind of treatises. If you want to be really technical, right? These are the things that are the core of what we believe and drive what we do. That's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to guide what we do. It's supposed to guide how we live. So Christianity is about the means being as important as the ends. This is like a really core type of thing, right? And what you end up seeing is oftentimes an ends justify the means. You see that with Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism is this idea of the ends justify the means. So it's okay to take and have control and power and impose because it's the idea of saving people, if you want to use a religious terminology. Although Christian nationalism isn't really about Christianity, it's about power. It's about the idea of we need to burn it down in order to save it. That's a way of thinking about it. So, you know, thinking about religion and politics, especially again, coming 1 week or coming less than a month from election day, and some of you have probably already been voting by mail. Encourage that. I'm going to be doing that. I'm waiting for my ballot to come in the mail. Things are a little bit late this year, but that's okay. I was driving down the road the other day, and not too far from where I live, I come to an intersection, a corner, kind of a T, if you want to think about it. And there's a vacant lot, and there's a whole bunch of signs for different candidates on there, mostly just one party. Occasionally, you'll get something that's critical of that party, and then those signs disappear after a while, which you can figure out what's going on there. But anyway, there's one sign in particular that really caught my attention, and it's a handmade sign. It's not very well done. It's on an orange backing, and it was used. The other side had something on it. It would have been used for like a yard sale or something. I don't know, whatever. But the other side was clear, and the person wrote in marker on there. And they have a couple of different signs. This person is obviously very dedicated to thinking that they're going to convince people. And on this sign it says, "Vote with your wallet." And I thought, they're trying to make a point for the candidate that they're supporting, that things were better before, which you can take a look at facts and figures and all that and take a look and see if that's the case or not. That's not what I'm interested in. This gets into this whole idea of what are politics and religion really about, right? This notion of vote with your wallet. I'm going to disagree with that statement. I don't think people should vote with their wallets. I mean, people are going to do whatever they're going to do, but I don't think that's the way to do it. Vote with your wallet. Here's my question. Why should money have the say on how you vote? Don't we give money enough, I don't know, enough currency, no pun intended, in dictating so many other areas of our life? I mean, what are we doing in that case? We already give money way too much leverage in making decisions for us. And that's not to say we should be dumb, or again, right? Get out of the notion of all or nothing on this, right? Do money is money part of the equation and how you make decisions? Sure, absolutely, right? You're not just going to go and just buy, $1 million house especially if you don't have the means to pay for it over a long period of time, assuming you're getting a mortgage, right? I'm not talking about that. But the idea of these kind of you're going to make policy decisions based on how it affects your wallet is very limited in taking a look, because elections are not just about me individually or you individually, right? Elections have an impact on all of us. Policies have an impact on all of us, and it goes beyond just money. Instead, vote with your humanity. That's what I'm arguing. That's not a great yard sign by any stretch of the imagination. Instead of vote with your wallet, vote with your humanity. And this goes beyond just like head or heart or anything like that, right? That's not what I'm talking about. This isn't a left right type of thing either, right? I don't think I'm not convinced. I'm registered nonpartisan, first of all. That doesn't mean I don't have ideas. I have lots of ideas, and I'm willing to engage in lots of conversations. But I don't think vote with your humanity really fits into the political spectrum very well. So I would say vote with your loved ones in mind. How are things going to impact them? Vote with your neighbors in mind. Vote with the most vulnerable in mind, however we're going to define that: poor, the outcasts, whatever the case, children. But be careful, because we don't have all the answers either, right? Vote with the lens of humanity and ask yourself this question: is this vote going to impose on others, or is it going to set them free in some way? Is this a vote that enhances humanity and their humanity, or does it dehumanize people? Any type of people, not just our preferred people, but other people. Are we able to see humanity more, or are we dehumanizing and making others? Is this a vote that helps me see the image of God in others? If you're come from a religious background, and this is a lens in which you can take a look, does this help me see the image of God in others, or does it make it harder for me to see the image of God in others? Vote with your humanity. I have a long history in politics and religion. I'm just going to tell you very briefly about that, because I think this is the idea in here. I used to be very, very conservative, and where am I now? I have no idea where I am. I don't fit the spectrum very nicely. Um, but I had worked for a member of Congress out of college. I worked in the legislative office in D.C., and it was during it was 98 and 99. And so if you remember, open up your history books to 25, 26 years ago, ouch, even saying that hurts a little bit. Then you'll remember there was a presidential impeachment going on during that time frame, and that was President Clinton. I worked for a moderate Republican, who I'm going to keep nameless for right now. And I remember, watching this kind of unfold. And I don't know if people remember this or not, but we had a Speaker of the House, and that Speaker of the House was Newt Gingrich. Ends up resigning because of a sexual scandal, which is the same thing in a different way of what was going on with why the Republicans were trying to impeach President Clinton. There was a speaker designate who was chosen. He ended up resigning because of a sexual scandal. And then you ended up with finally another speaker, Dennis Hastert, who years later would be discovered had some sexual problems. We'll just call it that. And he ended up, I think he ended up being resigning. I don't remember, but he got into trouble. Let's just put it that way. I tell you that because if you remember that time frame, the politics of that time frame were very much about winning. It wasn't so much, right? The Republicans were having the same scandals that the Democrat president was having. You can argue about, whether one is worse than the other. I don't know, all bad. I am not endorsing any of it. Um, but it's like turn a blind eye to your own stuff, point a finger at the other person because it's beneficial to make them look bad. And I remember my boss struggling with this. It ended up being he was one of eight that voted for only one article of impeachment because he wasn't going to be the only Republican who voted for none. Um, but I remember just kind of watching that 22, 23 years old, fresh out of college, getting a real lesson into what politics is really like. That there was a whole lot of it's about power. And that's one way of looking at politics. It's a destructive way of looking at politics. It's not one that is beneficial to all of society. It's not one that is helpful to a whole lot of people. It's a way of of taking a look at things, but it's a wrong focus. It's not a long term focus on things. I think there's a better way when we're thinking about religion and politics, and I'm putting the two together because really religion and politics are the same thing. People don't want to believe this, but religion and politics are the same thing. So, how are they the same thing? Well, if you take a look at them, they both have origin stories, right? So, in religion, in Christianity especially, you have an origin story. You've got two origin stories, actually, in the beginning of Genesis 1 and 2. And you have an origin story as far as a national myth of the founding of how America came to be, right? There's that national myth of the founding, and it deals with the founders and who they were and all that type of stuff and why we were fighting and all that. You have in religion, you have clergy and spokespeople of that who offer insights and make decisions and all that. You have politicians and you have other kind of pundits and those type of folks that people look to and listen to in order to figure out what they believe. In religion, you have creeds. In politics, you have platforms. In religion, you have buildings that have special meaning, sacredness, sanctuary, right? And in politics, you have special places that have deeper meaning as well, right? There's money involved in both of those. You have sacred documents. So on the Christian side, you have scripture, and on the politics side, you have sacred documents like the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, those type of things, right? So religion and politics are very similar because they both offer an identity to people, a way of dealing with the world, a way of being a part of something, and also one of the beautiful things about religion and politics is that they offer their study of people, and they offer a vision of a possible future. Both of them offer a vision of a possible future. It's just a matter of whose future that we're talking about and what that future really is. So today, I want to for the second half of the show here, I want to share some stories with you, and these are stories that, as far as I'm concerned, are the core of what religion and politics are really about. They highlight the humanity of all the things that we've been talking about. We're talking about these kind of big, large, abstract ideas, which is, again, there's a lot of abstractness in religion and politics. And what we want to do is we want to put some flesh on it. We want to say, okay, great, there's these debates about stuff. What does it look like, and how does it actually impact people? That's when we're getting ready to vote. That's one way to take a look and say, okay, let's get away from the abstract issues, because that's where we're going to keep fighting. We're never going to get to compromise. We're never going to get to seeing things a different way. we're never going to get to a common good if everything stays at that abstract issue only level. We'll actually get to some movement, some passing of policies or rules or whatever you want to call them when those issues move from the abstract to embodied. That's what I'm arguing, is it's a different way of taking a look. Because like you could take abortion if you want to talk about a really controversial topic. Abortion, it's been controversial for a long time, for 50 years, or longer actually, right? And you could get into the abstract, simplistic argument of should it be legal, should it not. Well, if you take that and you start to embody it and say, well, what about a woman who has had a miscarriage? The fetus inside of her womb has died, but has not been evacuated out of her body. And the only way to have that happen is through an abortion procedure. Because if not, her life is literally in danger. And that child or that fetus, however you want to refer, is not alive at this point. And so then what? It shows the complexity of a lot of these issues. That when we get to an embodiment, when we start talking about religion and politics in an embodied form, it shows the complexity that there are very few issues that are nice and simple. Oftentimes it's complex, and because you're dealing with people, and I don't know of a single person who isn't complex and has a complex story. So the first person I want to tell you about is, his name is Michael, and he's somebody that I knew. Oh boy, I first started, probably met Michael, I think in 2009 or 2010. I don't remember exactly. This was when before my, being a pastor, I had worked at a food pantry in Carlisle. It's Project Share, and this is where I had met Michael. And Michael, was a person who had been perpetually homeless for 19 years at that point. I didn't know his whole story. I know that he had spent some time in prison for something that he had committed, and Michael, was somebody who was living in a storage unit, quarter of a mile down the road from the food pantry. And he had told me at that time that the storage unit reminded him of his jail cell because it was the same size, essentially. And we would have these incredible conversations. Michael was very intelligent, but health wise, really not great. Diabetes that was not being taken care of, obesity, who knows, whatever else. But he would come in every day, and we would have conversations, and deep conversations, and he would help out as much as he could. And so, I did that for several years. And then when I was at my first call, I met Michael again. I had lost he had gone to see a relative in like North Carolina or somewhere. So I lost touch with him. And it turned out that my first day at my first call in 2017, there's Michael. I met him. He was staying under the pavilion at the church. And so I was able to reconnect with him. And he's the one who opened my eyes to really the issue of homelessness in the area. It's because of Michael that we ended up going down to the truck stop and doing a truck stop ministry. Michael was somebody who clearly had a knowledge about homelessness, what it was, what people struggled with. Didn't have the answers of how to overcome it, but he had a knowledge that I did not have. So we would go over to the truck stops and spend time in the evenings twice a month. and we would just be with people. We would go. The first time we went, it was midnight because that's when people come in from living out in their cars out in the parking lots, and then things got a little bit earlier as we built trust with people. But it's because of Michael that we went over there, learned about the fact that there are people who are living in their cars. Why a truck stop? Number one, there's parking. Number two, you can go inside and get warm for up to 24 hours. Really kind of important in winter. There's laundry, there's showers there, there's food there. Everything that somebody needs to survive, really. And so we would go over and we would do laundry with people. We just had a simple sign that said we were where we were from and that if you needed a meal or pray or laundry, we were there. And so we would do laundry with people. And then we would go over to Denny's and we would do a meal with folks. And really that's what we were there for, was to just see people's humanity. We couldn't fix their problems. We couldn't solve their problems. We couldn't do any of that stuff. We eventually started getting some other organizations to come along with us so that the Sadler Health would come, which is the public health facility, to be able to provide some kind of basic health care, some connections for appointments and those type of things, vaccinations, try to get people signed up for insurance. If they didn't have insurance, we had the emergency shelter would come from time to time to try and essentially convince people to go to the shelter to start the process of being connected to services. And really that only comes about because of trust. This is a key thing when it comes to religion and politics, is if there is no trust, what are we doing? There has to be trust. This is a key, and trust only happens between people, really, right? Yes, I know there's a whole level of, we're at a low level of trust with institutions. Institutions are made up of people. If there's not trust, nothing else happens. So again, instead of vote with your wallet, vote with your trust. What do you trust? Who do you trust? Michael taught me several different lessons about, number one, how people can survive. People are pretty hardy. And second, that all the stories of the people that we would meet over time were really messy, complex, messy, really showed that these issues that we have sound bites for, or tweets or bumper stickers or whatever it is, they just really lack. Because again, they're up here in the clouds of abstractness in which it's not really affecting people's lives. That's the problem with the abstract arguments, is they're disembodied. They're not attached to, how does this actually affect people? How does the definition of homelessness affect Michael? Like that would be a thing, right? As far as what he's able to do to help himself or get some kind of help. um you know there's a whole lot of things about this. How does our healthcare system have an impact on people who are living out at the truck stop? This also gets us into these sayings that end up happening. I'm going to put it that way, where again, simplistic in nature, that end up happening, where people will be just critical of an entire group of people in order to, again, push them away. I think it's the idea of creating a distance, creating a safety barrier, right? So people will talk about, well, the homeless, if they should just get a job. Well, here's the thing, here's the reality. And if you spend time with folks who are homeless, you find out a lot of them already have jobs. But there's a whole lot of things that have been going on. Their credit has really taken a hard hit. They don't make enough money to be able to afford housing. There's limitations on some folks for as far as how much they can work because of health issues. There's a whole spiral of things that are going on. It's not that homeless people are all, the bum who is addicted to drugs and just sitting out on the street and doing nothing. That's Are there some people like that? Sure, there are some people like that, but there are a whole lot of other folks who that is not the situation. We remember a family who we had met at the truck stop, and it was a mother and father and several kids, and they were living in vans at the truck stop. This is how they were living. This is what they could figure out what to do. There are not nice, easy solutions for a lot of these situations. They're messy situations, and the simplicity of, oh, if just do this, usually comes from people who are disconnected from the situation. It's a way to kind of end the discussion. Simplistic arguments usually are designed to end the discussion because it's uncomfortable. It's not comfortable having a conversation about a family who are living in their cars. I don't know of anybody who thinks that's a good idea. I don't know of anybody who enjoys hearing about that. There may be a few people who just live by cruelty, but for the most part, I don't think anybody thinks that's a great idea. I don't think anybody wants to hear or even think about the fact that there are families living in their cars with children in parking lots of truck stops. I don't think anybody does. And so we have to deal with, okay, now what? Right? And this is where our politics and our religion come into play. Are we thinking about these things in terms of simplistic ideas and solutions? Because if we're doing that, we're not really dealing with the situation. We're not thinking critically about it. We're not diving in and finding out, well, why did somebody end up like this? And what do we need to do to prevent someone from doing this? And how do we pull someone out of this? Instead, it's to create a bit of a barrier so that we don't have to think about it because it's uncomfortable. No one wants to think about kids sleeping in cars. But we need to do that. And our politics and our religion should address those things, not create a barrier so that we can be comfortable, so we don't have to deal with uncomfortable things. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about what is religion and politics really about. And it's about humanity. It's about these messy things that we'd rather not deal with. The politics and religion have a corporate or a communal aspect to them. And that is on purpose. It's not just me individual and how does this affect me and how does this benefit me. It's how does this impact the common good, the larger community, whatever community that we're talking about, whether it's a local municipality or a state or the nation, or if you want to go wider than that, the world. I'm a part of all of these, right? And so is everyone else. And so our politics and our religion have to have a thought process around how does this impact a lot of people? How is this actually helping? Politics is supposed to be about helping, making it easier to live is really the idea. How are we helping people to live? How are we helping people to thrive? How are we helping people to move past just survival to something more is the idea. How are we doing that? Our politics should not be the idea of just, well, let's create some rules and all that. And as long as it doesn't impact me, I don't care. Oof, ouch. That's extremely selfish, for one thing. Politics isn't supposed to be selfish, right? It's supposed to be thinking about not only yourself, but about others as well. Religion is the same type of thing. How does this impact me? How does this impact others as well? This isn't about, again, there's a strain of a thought, a lens through which people can look at. And I would call it more of a fundamentalist type of lens. And that can be a theological term, but I'm using it in a broader cultural sense, fundamentalist in the sense of having simplistic answers for complicated situations. It usually never works out. And a lot of that has to do with I'm going to impose something on you, um, because I don't want to deal with it. Is part of it. It's a sense of control. It's a sense of power, but really, it's a sense of I don't want to deal with something that's uncomfortable, because I don't know the answer. That's a part of things too. Politics and religion don't have all the answers. I'm a pastor and I have a background in politics, and I will tell you, nobody has all the answers. No one. I know there's a lot of folks again who have that kind of more fundamentalist frame of reference, and they'll say, "Oh no, I have the answers." No, they don't. Avoid those. You can listen to people, see, but start asking questions about, well, okay, but what about this? What about that? You know, these generalized type of things don't always play out. Things never work out the way that we think they're going to work out. There's always exceptions. There's always other things that are going to happen. So let me tell you a couple more stories as well in the time that we have here. So I want to tell you about Ron. Ron was an individual who also met at the truck stop, and he was homeless. He was living in his car, and Ron would come to the truck stop, and he we figured this out pretty quickly, but he had this continuous thing, that we tried the first time he had told us about this. We tried telling him it was a scam, that he had met this woman online. He was going to go down to Florida. He showed us pictures, absolutely beautiful, and she had this beautiful child. And and he already sent her a little bit of money, and he's supposed to go down and meet her and all this type of stuff. Clearly, it's a scam. And Ron did not want to hear that it was a scam. And eventually, what we did is we figured out why, because this gave Ron hope. Uh, Ron's life was not easy. Ron's life, in many ways, was very difficult, and broken family relationships, who knows what else. And I think he knew it was a scam, but he didn't care because it gave him hope. This is something, again, the lesson of this is, are our politics and our religion hopeful? I think that's really important. They should be offering us hope. And what is hope? Hope is not uh, positive thinking, like in all sorts of circumstances, right? Hope recognizes the reality of what is in all of its ugliness. Hope is recognizing that, oh yeah, there is homelessness, there is poverty, there is disease, there is whatever the case may be. It's recognizing the existence of what is. It's saying that there is a reality, and that reality exists, and it's terrible and it's not great. And hope says it doesn't have to be this way. Hope says that there is another way, that there is a vision of what is possible. And that's where we're moving in the direction of. That's what hope is. And so, what I got from Ron was hearing he was kind of ignoring the reality, or at least verbalizing that he was ignoring it. But he had a hope that there was a different way. He didn't know the option of how to get to a different life, but he had hope in this kind of weird type of way, that there was a different way. He recognized that there was a different way. Um, I want to tell you also about a little bit here at Christ Lutheran Church. I had mentioned before that we have 3 free health clinics that have a huge impact on this neighborhood, and it's a neighborhood that has a lot of challenges. You can Google Allison Hill and find stories about gun violence. I mean, literally has been shootings in the alleyways around the church. There's drug challenges, there's prostitution, you name it, right? Those are realities in this setting. It's the reason why the health clinics are here. One of the days, So one of the great programs that we have here is that there is a nursing students from HAC, which is the Harrisburg Area Community College. And one of the days during their rotation that they're here is they go out onto the street. There's a group of them. They're well marked. An instructor is always with them, and they walk down the street. And the beautiful thing, I went with them a couple weeks ago. I had my collar on, and I walked with them because I wanted to see what it was like. And as they're walking down the street, they just stop and they talk to people, and they're always asking them, can I take your blood pressure? Can I do a blood sugar test? Get a little blood off of your finger, that type of thing, and do a blood sugar test. They stop and they talk to anybody. And there were these two gentlemen who were sitting just like on the sidewalk. They were sitting on one of the ledges, kind of looking kind of rough. They're in the neighborhood and they kind of have a demeanor of don't bother me, that type of thing. And here's these nurses who are maybe a quarter of the size of these gentlemen. And, they have a white shirt and with a red cross on it, says student, or I forgot, first aid, something of that nature. And they just go up and they just talk to these gentlemen who, again, have kind of the stern face. And what I saw over the course of this short interaction, they did some blood pressures. They had to figure out these guys were huge and they couldn't do the the blood pressure cuff on the normal part, the upper part of the arm, because the guy's arm was so big. So they had to do it on the forearm. And that created some conversation and whatnot. What I saw was because of the interaction of the students with these men, and this is not just these two guys, but I saw a softening of these guys who, they kind of come out and they have this facade of harsh, or not harshness, but hardness. They've probably experienced a lot of things. We have no idea. I have no idea what their story is. Part of this is probably a protection. Part of it is a projection of whatever that they're trying to show. But in the course of this interaction, we saw these guys change their demeanor. They went from this kind of like very serious face and kind of a put offness to one of us warmness. They had smiles on their faces. They were laughing with the students. They were telling stories and jokes. They were having a very good interaction. The students were, I don't know if they even aware, but they were having this wonderful conversation with these two guys, not knowing a whole lot about them, not knowing their story, but they were offering care. They were offering concern. They saw their humanity. And that's what softened these guys. And every interaction that they had going down the street, whether it was people who were on the sidewalk or going into small businesses, whether it was a bodega or a little restaurant or whatever the case may be, or a barber shop. We even went into one of the barber shops. And people ended up being excited to see them. And to have these short little interactions with people who express care, with people who saw their humanity. You have no idea the power that creates in the sense of seeing the humanity of others. Think about that in terms of our religion and our politics, especially when we're talking about policies that deal with other people, which is a lot of them, right? Imagine what it's like to craft an immigration policy that sees the humanity of others. I don't think anybody is actually proposing anything like that. Part of seeing the humanity of people is recognizing when it comes to immigration, why are people coming? What happened? How have we participated in creating the situation in which people are coming? We have to make some assumptions that people aren't all that different. regardless of where they are, where they're coming from, or what their culture are. Yes, there are differences, but people are going to leave a dangerous place and go somewhere safer. That's a pretty human thing, I would say. What where are we seeing the humanity? This is again taking an issue from the abstract and putting it down into an embodied form. How is this helping us to see the humanity? St- Nursing students going down the street doing blood pressures and blood sugar tests, those are important things. But making connections with people, complete strangers, approaching complete strangers, and seeing their humanity, that's powerful. You imagine a policies or religious beliefs or anything about seeing the humanity of others as a first thing, as a foundation. You imagine if we focused our politics on how does our politics help us to see the humanity of others. That's what I'm talking about. I want to tell you one more story before I close. And this is a story of a young woman who had come into the clinic and looked around, and she got some food out of the refrigerator that was there and left. Before she left, the nurses asked her, "Is there something I can help you with?" And she just looked scared. She looked around and she said no, and she left. She came back a couple days later and uh, came in and went up to one of the nurses and said, I'm ready. I need help." It turned out that she was a young woman who was being trafficked. And so one of the nurses sat her down and just let her talk. One of the nursing students came over as well and was able to give her some food. They were down on her level, and she just shared about what had been going on. That she had been trafficked, was continuing to be, had been raped. She had bruises. She had injuries. She had cigarette butt marks on her chest. She had been raped and discarded out of a vehicle, and that she was just done, not in great shape. And over the course of however long it took, the nurse and the nursing student spent time with her, listening very carefully, very attentively, showing empathy, showing care. And really, what that's about is seeing her humanity. Her humanity had been taken away from her, or really the ability to see her own humanity had been taken away from her. That's what happens in trafficking. And the nurse and the nursing student reminded her of what being able to see her own humanity was really about, that she had value and that she had worth. That's another piece of politics and religion, that people have worth and they have value. And so are we trying to impose? Because if the idea is religion and politics are about imposing on people, which there is certainly a strain of thought of that, which I disagree with and think it's extremely harmful. This is, if that's what it is, we're not going to have long-term solutions, and you're not going to get everybody on board. Not that I think you're ever going to get everyone on board, but you're not concerned about the common good. In fact, you're not seeing the humanity of the consequences of what you're trying to impose. You're looking at your own benefit. How oftentimes this whole idea of trying to impose on others is about making ourselves feel better, is about making ourselves feel like we have control because we have our own control issues. Um, this is kind of the history of those type of things. But if our politics and our religion help us to see our own humanity and the humanity of others, whether those are friends or even enemies, then we have a potential for moving the nation or congregation or whatever the case may be into a possibility of a, a possible future, right? That's what these things are about. When I think about religion and politics, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about Michael. I'm thinking about Jeff. I'm thinking about so many other people that I have met at the truck stop. I'm thinking about so many people who come through the doors of Christ Lutheran Church and the clinics. I'm thinking about people, family members. I'm thinking about colleagues in other places in the country, in other parts of the world. I'm thinking about friends in other places around the world. When I think about religion and politics, I'm trying to see the humanity. Is what I am advancing helping me to see the humanity, or is it blinding me from seeing the humanity in myself and in others? If I can see more of the humanity, then what I'm seeing is that things are really complex and that there aren't nice, easy solutions. There aren't nice, easy policy solutions that are going to solve all the problems or make things go away. Rather, they're going to deal with probably a small little bit, but it advances us just a little bit. It moves us in the direction of moving towards what that hope is, what a possible future is. And then you do something else that's going to move us towards that possible future, which is better for everyone, even the people that I don't like or considered enemies. Because if we want what's best for everyone, and that includes our enemies, then it's going to look different. They're not going to be enemies. We still may not like them, but if it's better for them and for us, that changes things. So that's what religion and politics are when it really comes down to it. You have your own stories. I want to encourage you over this next month to be thinking about what are what is politics and religion? What are these things? And when you go and vote, whether you're doing it by mail or you're going in person, how do you embody? How do you move politics and religion from an abstract idea to an embodied? The only way I know how to do that is by actually recognizing people, individual people. I've told you a couple stories of individual people that really embody what politics and religion are for me. These are kind of, you may never have thought about religion and politics in the way that I've talked about, and that's okay. You have your own stories, you have your own people in your own lives from various places and various stages of your life. That's what religion and politics is about. It's about you and me, and it's about all of these other people. How is politics and religion serving humanity? We're not supposed to serve religion and politics. They're there to serve humanity and move us towards a possible future, which is much better than what we have right now. So that's going to be the last word about this. I look forward, if you've got comments, please go ahead and put them, send them to me. If you want to send an email, contact impolitecompany at gmail.com, and or put it in the comment section if you're watching it on a video. Next time, we're getting closer to election day. Next time, October 20th, the show, I'm going to have the Reverend Kevin Stout, who is a colleague of mine, a Lutheran colleague of mine. We're going to take a look at both the Democrat and Republican Party platforms. Ooh, and compare them to what Jesus says. So what did Jesus say, and how do these platforms match up with that? So you won't want to miss that. I appreciate you greatly, and I hope you have a great day.